Yes.
All right, Mr. Chair, we're ready to go when you are.
Are you? Well, then we might as well call this meeting to order. Do you like any formal heading about the meeting?
No, usually we state what the meeting is and date and time, location. So-
It is 1:30 in the afternoon, Monday, 6/9. We're in a county building in Bonner County, working on the APA group. You want to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance? That's on the agenda.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, let's do that. First flag. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We have a roll call.
Do we have a roll call?
I think
My name is Dan Elliott. And this gentleman on my left is,
My name is Ron Friedland.
yeah, and I think we have Aaron online. Aaron, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here online. Sorry, I couldn't find childcare today, so had to zoom in.
We appreciate you joining. The next is agendas and announcements. So, Mr. Chair, this might be a good opportunity to maybe just give the commission an overview of the Boundary County meeting that you attended and a little bit of.
I went up and
feedback.
attended Boundary County's meeting last Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which exactly. And to see how they were doing with this program and maybe learn a little bit of something. They are ahead of us a little bit. They have bylaws that are accepted and adopted. They have an application form probably similar to ours, and I guess we're all a little undecided if it needs any fine tuning or not. But they're going through the same things we are. It's a learning curve a little bit, trying to get it right. I guess the thing that I shared with them and they shared with me up there is, what have we forgotten to address that might come back to haunt us? We want to think it out as carefully as we can and put it down in writing so we all have the same guidelines. And I told them the same thing. If they come up against something that they didn't anticipate, maybe they share that with us and we can do the same. Which is all minor stuff, but it's all small things are important. So that's really the majority of what I learned from them up there. They've got a pretty good group up there, pretty good heads, pretty good brain power, I think. And I guess it's up to us to uphold our end of the program. So I don't have any other comments about that. We just talked about the bylaw program, and I gave you a copy of the bylaws that they've adopted up there, and there'd be some word changes in there grammar wise and Bonner County instead of Boundary County and so forth like that, of course, but it looks pretty good when I've read through it.
Mhm.
Like I say, I think my biggest concern is, what aren't we thinking about that we should be, or will it come back to haunt us? So we don't want to hold anything back from anybody, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're doing it as well as we can, and we'll correct it as we go. So that's really all I have. Do we need a motion to table the bylaws until our next meeting so we can get that together and reprint it?
So at the last agenda item we have is calendar and future meeting dates and times, commissioners and staff updates. So I think at that time, we can add that to the next agenda.
Okay,
Let's say, we'll add it as an agenda item, as an action item to accept
Right, okay.
bylaws. So in the meantime, between now and then, staff will take what you provided
Well,
and then craft some change.
can we make a copy of that one I gave you so I can keep that copy?
Absolutely.
and
I'll make a
you have
copy
one?
after the meeting
Yeah,
and
okay.
get you back this copy.
I would propose that we have another meeting like in 30 days in that ballpark someplace
Okay.
till we get the details ironed out of this program. And then,
Sure. So a couple of the things on, so one, I have an action item here on the agenda to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
yes,
I haven't reviewed those, so I don't have them in your inbox yet. I was given them last week by my admin. We've been a little shorthanded and Dylan's our brand new hearing coordinator, so he's here with me today and he's in a lot of training right now, so I will get those to you guys next meeting, so please don't take action on them because I haven't had a chance to review them. It looks
no,
like
I would make a motion, and that's another thing, who on our board of commissioners, as far as the APA commission goes, can or cannot vote? Are we all able to vote?
Yeah.
Because there's 3 of us only.
correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear because Farm Bureau, as president, I can't vote.
Oh, really?
I can lean on people a little bit, try to twist their arm, but I can't vote. So,
Okay.
I thought this would probably be different. So I would make a motion that we table the minutes, the approval of the minutes till our next meeting. And
Second.
we go,
We'll do a
agree with that. Then.
Okay.
So we're all on board with that.
All in favor? Take a vote.
All in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay. So we'll table those until next meeting. The next on the agenda is review of Bonner County Revised Code Title 16, and then Idaho State Statute 6797 and Senate Bill 1133. So this Senate bill, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, takes effect July 1st. I briefly discussed this with the Board of County Commissioners at I have a monthly update meeting with them. I have one Wednesday this week.
Yeah.
And then so at the last one in May, I asked if they wanted staff to craft, so there's some changes that need to happen to our now adopted Title 16, which was adopted earlier this year. All in response to this new House or the new bill that created the Idaho or the Agriculture Protection Area Act.
Okay.
So the Senate Bill 1133, I mean, the act has only been effective for less than a year. The legislators made a bunch of changes to it. There are a number of changes that will need to be made in Title 16. Really, it's in the process of how an application is processed and who the decision makers are. It should be fairly minimal. My goal was to present to you guys a red line version of the code. You don't have it before you. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I think if you give me 30 days, I'll be able to get a red line version of it in front of you guys by the next meeting. And then the board would like your input on it. It's not really within your jurisdiction. When you look at like how hearing bodies and governing bodies work, you typically have a jurisdiction and what do you make decisions on? So code amendments to Title 16 isn't included in your jurisdiction, but the board still wants your input given your position with the county.
Well, I think whether it is in our jurisdiction, not a little knowledge doesn't hurt.
I think that's what we all looked at and said, this
Yeah.
would be a really good opportunity for the APA Commission to let's review the statute together, let's review the code together, and then let's come up with some red line versions and then discuss why. And if there's any other additional changes you guys wanted to make, so long as it aligns with that statute, we're fine. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't have it before you. I think it would be prudent probably to pull that Senate bill up and we can look at it together and I can show you and we can talk through some of those amendments if
The 1133.
correct.
Yeah.
Give me just a moment. So if you are in your, I should have asked to begin with, has anyone had any issues getting into the G drive? I think Dan and I spoke earlier and then you talked about some of your frustrations.
I'm gonna have to get reset on all that.
Okay.
With my new computer, so. Does Dylan help me with that? Or
Maybe
the IT department?
technology can help. If you need your password reset, just shoot us an email and
Okay.
I could put in a help desk ticket over to the technology department to
Okay.
reset your county email address,
Probably need. to-
password.
Okay,
Aaron, have you had any issues technology wise?
nope, I've been getting along just fine.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So if you go onto the APA Commission Drive, and that's what's in front of you guys today, Aaron, if you're following along, I'll present this here on the screen. You should have in there a file labeled under today's date S-1133E1, which is the APA, the Ag Protection Area Act changes that the Senate passed, and it was signed into law earlier this year. So this takes effect, as I mentioned, July 1st, as with all changes in state statute. So we will be a little bit behind. Whenever we adopt this and make changes, but the board would like your guys' input, as I mentioned. So
So are these APA changes that we're looking on the computer right now, are they gonna be accessible from home?
Yep. So
Okay.
you can even Google these and find them. These are all available on the statute.
Yeah, I know,
website.
but I mean, if it were something else
Yes.
that,
So anytime
Yeah.
from your county email address, so you log into your Bonner County email, and then on the top right, you'll have, I call it the waffle. It's like 3 or 9 dots
yep,
on. So you click on that and then go to Google Drive. And under Google Drive, you should be able to have access under shared drives.
okay.
So
Oh, that's how you get to the shared drives. Okay, gotcha.
if you need like a one-on-one and we can sit down and I can help you guys through it, I'm happy. If you want to bring in your personal laptop, connect to the county Wi-Fi here and I could walk you through it, I'm happy to do that.
You'll
So,
see me.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Feel free to, like, if you're coming into town to do some grocery shopping and you want to swing by for half an hour, I'm happy to sit down with you guys or have one of my
I'd
staff.
love to have your day interrupted.
It happens. It's
I
fine.
know. Yeah,
So where-
okay, sounds good.
so where do we go now?
Um,
We're trying to get to the G drive now.
So you should have it right there in front of you. So that's what this is here. This
Is that
is
what
your
that is?
Google Drive and we're in this document right there.
In this.
Yep.
Okay.
So they look like they did some cleanup to this statute. They took out, no later than January 1st, 25, that now it's just a mandate each county will have. So they took out the deadlines.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a copy of it that I picked up there in Bonners. I
Did you?
haven't read it yet,
Okay.
briefly.
So some other changes. This was really good. There was some confusion between the different planning directors throughout the state on whether or not a county land use map was updated when an area is designated as agriculture protection area, right? So again, this is all a voluntary act by an individual. To my knowledge, there hasn't been anyone in the state that's applied with a county yet. So
How are we gonna make those applications accessible, easy for people to come?
So they're on our website with all the other land use applications. So if you, under the planning department website on the left-hand side, there's applications and forms. There's one under there, there's one that says agriculture and protection area
Yeah,
application or something along those lines. So we're transitioning all of our applications to like an online form that someone would go in and apply online and fill out a form and it submits right in, rather than a PDF form or even a paper copy.
Yeah.
So we're going away from paper copy forms and even PDF forms and going to an online submittal. So we're starting with our building location permits and then some others. We'll move into land use and the APA forms as well, probably within the next year. So it's going to take a little bit of time to transition everything over.
okay. A lot of this stuff is pretty time consuming to get right.
So all of that is to help expedite, because right now when a paper form comes in, we have to take what people write, transcribe it into our computer system that we use to process applications. So Dan's applying, it's Dan Elliott, at 1234 Main Street. And so we fill all this stuff out that's on the application. So a lot of it's just data entry that doesn't, whenever we go online with a digital format, then everyone's going to put that input.
So they can fill it out online.
100%. So
They save a little headache.
they should,
Time.
and some processing time on staff as well. So we'll
Sure.
be able to process.
Well, that's what I'm
applications.
thinking about,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that being said, if you notice throughout this, they really did a good job, whoever crafted these changes. I know there was a planning director in southern Idaho somewhere that was working with a senator that was making some of these changes, and
Yeah.
it makes a lot more sense the way they have it now. They clearly delineate the line between land use and APA, that they really don't cross, that they actually have a restriction in here that says when someone wants to apply for their area to be designated as an APA, that the county cannot require a zone change or a comp plan map amendment, which are land use actions. So I think that really helps. It also requires the county to maintain a map of the areas that are designated as APAs. I've already talked with our GIS department. It's an easy overlay layer they can add on to our GIS system, and it'll be separate from zoning. So I think when the county does legislative changes to our comprehensive plan and our zoning, that having areas that are designated as APA will probably change some of our decision making. And as it probably should, right? Why would we zone some area like a higher density such as suburban or
I think
recreation?
that's part of the goal of this.
Yeah.
Program,
Mhm.
with that in thought anyway.
Yep.
I don't know if it's exactly doable, depends on the country.
Yeah. So, but the way this new changes the statute are coming in, like I said, it delineates those lines. We cannot compel someone or require them to apply for a zone change if they want their area, their property designated as an APA. So I think that's good. Let's see. Yeah, so if you look under 3, so where am I at? I'm under section 1, 9704, going down to 3, it says, agriculture protection areas shall be designated on a planning map to serve as a voluntary and expeditious tool to inform planners, commissioners, county officials, and citizens at large on how to proactively plan for agriculture. Such map, so this is a new addition, such map designations shall not require a rezone comprehensive plan amendment or amendments to other comprehensive planning maps. So some counties had included that in their ordinance changes with the APA is to require a comp plan map or a rezone to happen. So that's the legislators coming down and saying, no, that's not what we intended. There's nothing in our code in our Title 16 that requires that, so we don't need to make a change. Let's see. I don't think there's any change there. This new section under 679706. This is a copy paste from, well, not copy paste, but it's similar to what you find under the Local Land Use Planning Act standards of 6535 or 36, when it talks about like how you make the decision. So it has to be through this is a new mandate essentially through a court case on a reasoned statement analysis. So if you look at that, how they've included in here under C, so I'm at 9706 2C, a reasoned explanation for the decision reached by the administrator or other administrative officer if appointed. So that's going to put the onus on us to evaluate, to ensure we're evaluating every criteria that could apply, and we're making a finding off every one of those criteria. So we have a new worksheet we're using to craft these written statements or written explanations. So they added some language in here for appeals, which we'll have to make some changes to our code. As I think I mentioned this at our last meeting, the decision making is changed in this new ordinance. So the Board of County Commissioners is no longer required to hold a hearing. Meetings with the APA, this body here, isn't a public hearing, it's a meeting. The difference is when we're required to publish notices in the newspaper. So hearings we're required to put notices in the paper and notices to neighboring and surrounding property owners following 6509, I think, and 6511. Where that's the rationale behind posting properties and notices and whatnot come into effect. So an APA meeting is just that, it's a meeting, which means we put an agenda out just like we did for this meeting. It'll be an action item to discuss a recommendation to the administrator. So that now the decision is put on the bureaucrat to make, and then it can, so your recommendation comes back to me, and then I make a decision and make a reasoned statement analysis. And then that decision can be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners into a public hearing.
Yeah.
So, questions on that? That's kind of a shift from the last statute to now.
I have no questions. Aaron, how about you?
No, I don't have any questions.
So we'll have to revise, I think what we have right now in Title 16, it talks about a reconsideration, which is the typical language we use whenever the board makes a final decision, where someone's required to request reconsideration of that decision, which means they come in and apply. It's kind of like an appeal, but it's an appeal back to the same body that made the decision. So they're going back to the board saying, please reconsider your decision and under this argument. So in this case, it's an appeal because it would be an appeal from my decision to the board. So we'll have to craft some appeal language. We can kind of copy a lot of what's in this new statute and put that into our code. So when I create a red line, that's what you'll see me do is just pull right from this statute. So and I think what we'll need to do is remove the reconsideration language, because right now in this new statute, it says the Board of County Commissioners' final decision shall be subject to judicial review, which means they don't have to do a reconsideration. It's an appeal to the board. The board's decision is final, and then any further appeals go to district court. So when you look at like you think every government action has to have some kind of appeal process and a window. So it doesn't mean that they're appealable forever. It's an appealable for a certain amount of time. So oftentimes it's 28 days from the time the decision's made. Sometimes it's 14, depends on the process. So I'll ensure we put the right language in for this. I think that's most of it. There's some other minor edits to how they want us to review for fees. I don't know why they harped on this. You see this throughout this new change. Rather than says an administrative fee to cover administrative costs, is it not to exceed the cost of covering administrative? It seems like just someone didn't like the language, so they redlined it and changed it. It's like, okay. So
That's called covering yourself,
sure.
I think, but both parties need to know where they stand on it, so.
Given that this isn't going to require a hearing to the board, I think we don't know what the fee structure should be, because what you want is enough of a fee to cover the administrative review process, so that the general fund, the tax dollars that we collect, aren't supplementing that review. So if it takes 2 hours of time for planning staff and an hour meeting with this body, an hour meeting with staff, you should say, okay, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So what is staff's wages for that amount of time? And there should be an appropriate fee to cover that time, right? So it's kind of odd. A lot of times people get frustrated by the fee schedule we have, but that's really what it comes down to is like, what's the average processing time? So
I read that part and it wasn't as well defined as what you just said. And I think that might want to be spelled out a little bit somehow, not in any great lengthy paragraph, but
yeah, there's another statute.
Enough to know, let somebody know that's reading that, how you're going to calculate the cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another statute that governs how counties apply fees. I take a very systematic approach when we do fee schedule changes. Where we do time studies on processing applications, say it's a zone change application. So I'll do 2 or 3 planners processing a zone change application, and we track how much time it takes each one of those planners, and we do an average of all 3 of them, or 4, or however many we have. So, and we'll do that for 6 to 8 months of tracking, to try to figure out what the total administrative burden is.
Well, you can kind of back that up in comparison, like if they can fill out their application online instead of having to get a form filled out and have to re-enter that form on computer, that takes time too. So
yeah, so it'll cut down like half an hour of staff time, for example. Yeah, 100%.
Well, more than that if I was typing it.
Maybe 35 minutes. Yeah. So that's some of the changes in the fee schedule. But I think what we could do is review what our base assumptions were whenever we've crafted the Title 16 fee schedule earlier this year with the board, and recommend some decreases to that, given that the board won't hold a hearing. So the board's time isn't taken up in that administrative review process. So we could probably drop those fees by, I don't know, 20–30% based on the lack of a hearing and noticing. So it's just staff time. And I committed to the board that after we process 2 or 3 of these applications, assuming we get some, that we would do a time study on each one of those and then make recommendation changes to the fee schedule, either up or down, depending on staff's time. there's some other changes here for the limitations on local regulations. So I think we need to copy essentially all of the new number 4 into that,
Yeah.
into the statute, and probably ensure that, no, I think on number 3, we don't have to worry about, so. And those are the majority of the changes. I think I hit all the highlights. It's just, it's either 2 steps, right? We can spend some time today, or revising and making some red line edits. If you want to just direct staff to make those changes and present it to you guys at the next meeting, I'm happy to do that as well. So
Well, that's where I would go. Probably happen faster that way too.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot better to start with something and then make changes to it. Just know I
Absolutely
have
is.
very thick skin. I don't present to you the only solution. I present like a possibility, and I'm fallible just like any other human. So if you look in there, it's like, Jake, that's really messed up. It should have been like this. Like, oh, that's fine. Let's change it, right?
Well,
So that's what I think your guys' group is for.
You
is to make
can't
sure-
amend or correct anything until you have something to work
Exactly.
off of.
Yep.
Yep.
So let's look at the calendar real quick, unless you have any other discussion points on those 3 topics right there, the different reviews of the statutes.
Ron,
Yeah, I'd say
No,
let's,
I don't have any, just.
Aaron, any questions so far?
Nope, I'm doing good.
Okay, good.
so our next meeting was scheduled for 2 months, but you guys want to hold some kind of meeting in the next 30 days?
Well. Yeah, and I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but
I'm looking at it.
July is going to be jammed.
Yeah, it is.
So
We could do Monday, June 30th. It's the week of 4th of July.
June 30th or July 30th?
No, June 30th. So it's
So that's 3 weeks away.
3 weeks.
If you think you can get those corrections and so forth done by then, I think that sounds reasonable.
You're gonna have, realistically have time, Jake, for
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I've had some major projects of the last 2 weeks that took up all my time. So most of those are coming to a conclusion in the next week and a half. I'll likely get something from that and probably a little bit of work, but by the end of this week, I should probably have some red line versions, or even by the end of next week at the latest, over to you guys for this. I don't see this as
No.
substantial. It just will take me 3-4 hours.
I think that looks okay, I think. Yeah,
Aaron, does that
as far
look
as my
okay to you
calendar.
on June 30th? It's a Monday.
Yep, I'm open that day, so that's fine.
Sounds good. So I will add a meeting for that date, put it on the calendar, and get an agenda together. So it'll look really similar to this agenda, plus a couple of meeting minutes, this meeting, and then the last meeting minutes. And then
Do we usually shoot for 1:30? Is that?
I think 1:30 works if you guys want to do an afternoon meeting. That usually, all my afternoon meetings with the board always start at 1:30. If I move it to 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I'll always show up at 1:30. So 1:30 is a good start time for me if that works for you guys.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
If anybody, Aaron, if you have any problem with that 1:30 thing, let us know.
No, that works.
Perfect.
Okay,
That concludes everything I had.
well, anybody else? Ron, you got
So
it?
we have, we'll have bylaws on that agenda.
Yep.
And then we'll have a red line version of Title 16.
Yep.
And then I'll try to get that to you guys at least a week before that meeting, hopefully 2. And then you'll have time to review that. Bring your notes with you, please. And like I said, if there's changes to what we need to make based on my revisions, let's just discuss it then.
Well, and if we have a week or at least, then we can read it, and if we see anything we don't like, we can get a hold of you before the next meeting and work off of that instead of having to postpone something else,
Instead of at the meeting.
depending on how busy everybody is.
Yeah.
And perhaps at the next meeting, we can evaluate whether or not we need to hold a meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting in August. What
Yeah.
today's June, so I think July, August would be our next one. So if we hold a meeting essentially the first week of July, we'll need to know, if we don't have an application, we won't need to do a meeting in August. But if we have additional items you guys want to discuss, we can hold a meeting. at the
Yeah,
beginning of
I
August.
think that, until we get this machine operating and working smooth, that we probably ought to have one once a month, and after that, I think you're right, they could go depending on
Application,
applications and so forth. Yeah,
sounds good. Cool.
okay, sounds
Thank you.
good.
Yeah,
So once I get my laptop back up and going again.
Yep.
Then I'll just call your office and
Yep.
schedule a time to come in.
that's great. Yeah, Friday mornings are really good for me. Usually I book the whole morning off, and I'm just working on stuff, and I'm happy to have you guys swing by, if you have time Friday mornings.
Okay.
That I never have meetings on Fridays, so that's usually the best time to catch me, that I'm dedicated time. So if you guys need to get a hold of me, either shoot an email or give me a call, or call my office and have them add it to my
What's the
calendar.
best number to call?
Our main office number is what, 208-265-1458.
I'll just go upstairs and get it before I leave.
Yeah, I think I have a couple copies of my card. I'll hand you one, from my dad or from my bag.
Just says number straight or extension.
No, that's just straight to the,
Okay.
that. I don't have an extension to my phone, so,
I
not that I'm
don't-
aware of anyways.
Yeah, I
go
didn't
straight
know if
to
you did
you.
or not.
No, it'll go to the front office. Yeah,
Jana or somebody.
Jana or Dylan.
Okay,
I can give you guys you have my work email address as well. That you can email me directly.
We do now that I can get on
Yeah, right.
your webpage thing. Yep. Okay, well, that's all I have. Aaron, do you have anything you want to ask or add?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay, well then, barring anything else, I will declare us adjourned.
Sounds good.
All in favor?
second and I.
I.
Okay, Aaron's in too.
All right. We'll see you guys next month.